If we're talking about sub-Saharan Africa, and that's the area of Africa that I concentrate on, the internet penetration is quite low, but where the internet is available, either on computers in internet cafes or in people's offices or homes, or increasingly on mobile phone, the role of social media is huge, especially, I would say, Facebook. Sub-Saharan Africa and Twitter aren't quite so addicted to each other as they are in other parts of the world. But definitely Facebook and other forms of social media are increasingly popular, probably partly because Africa is an oral culture where communication is very, very important, and as more Africans are spread around the world, they communicate with each other. They like to keep the channels of communication open, and they can do that via social media. Like I said in my earlier answer, I don't think that social media has taken off in terms of breaking news as dramatically as it has, let's say, in the Maghreb, where in the Arab Spring it played an absolutely central role. Places like Nigeria, you might see a few things like Twitter breaking stories. I've certainly seen, religious violence, for example, the first bits when it starts to happen come out on things like Twitter. But otherwise, I think that Africa is slightly lagging behind in terms of using social media to break the news. Right. Well, I use my mobile phone the whole time, and the internet that's available on my phone for communicating with people, for checking things. Also, I'm a radio journalist, principally a radio journalist, so I use recording equipment. The smaller the better. I use something called a Marantz, which is a digital recording machine. I also use digital camera, and if I'm doing things for television, then obviously I will have a camera crew with me. So technology is actually absolutely vital for what I do, and also in terms of getting the news back to London, we use satellite phones such as BGANs, so that we can have perfect quality audio going straight back to London from wherever we are. Technology has completely revolutionised the way that I work, and when I first started off as a journalist, there was no such thing as the internet, there was no such thing as mobile phones. We used to use telexes, we used to have to transcribe things. Sometimes even people would send their stories in the post. It was that difficult to get information, whereas now, because Africa kind of leapfrogged the landline environment and went straight onto mobile phone, it was actually very much ahead of a lot of the rest of the world in terms of mobile phone technology. So somewhere like Somalia, which people like to refer to as the most comprehensively failed state on earth, has actually got the cheapest mobile phone network and the most efficient, I would say, in Africa. So you can get in touch with people in Somalia within a matter of seconds for a few pence, and you get the latest news instantly, which is extraordinary given that that's a place that hasn't had a central government for more than 20 years. I used a voice recording machine, Marantz, a digital recording machine, and also I used my phone to sort of send quick bits of news back via text message. That's always a very effective way of getting news out, even when you're in a situation where you're not supposed to be reporting a closed-door meeting. You can actually, under the table, send a text message back to London, and so they get the news even before the meeting's over. So I think mobile phones are a fantastic resource for journalists. I think what I would like is, I would like my phone, something as small and as light as this, to be my camera, my recording machine, and even my camera for TV, so that I could always have in my handbag a piece of equipment that could enable me to do any kind of journalism from wherever I am, because you come across stories all the time, not just when you're officially at work. So if I could always have a machine that could record pictures and sounds in perfect digital quality, that would be my dream machine. I think people studying journalism, any journalist has to be really, really across technology. You mustn't be frightened of it, and you must kind of embrace the new forms of technology and use them as much as you can, because if you get distracted by the technology and worried about how difficult it is, it gets in the way of you doing your journalism, because doing your journalism, it doesn't matter what it's for, it's all about getting to the truth, being balanced and telling a good story. So you have to, that's your priority, is not the technology. So you have to just really get to grips with technology so it's completely second nature. So you're not worrying about, oh, is my machine working? Oh, am I getting a good picture? Because what you really need to do is to be telling the story, not worrying about the technology.
Thank you very much. This is Mary Harper of the BBC, and thank you very much for talking to us today.
Oh, you're welcome.